Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Othree. Welcome back to Platicas with Othree. This is Platica number 4. I'm here with my cousin Jess. I'm gonna let her introduce herself.
What's up? My name's Jess. I'm a 26-year-old trying to figure out life.
Perfect. That's perfect. That's
Yeah, I
good.
mean that pretty much sums me up.
This is why we're having this conversation. She is the younger sister of my two cousins that I always talk about, Chunky and Drone. So if there's like a why, like if you're curious as to why I call her my cousin or why there's a certain relationship that's been there before, is because we've known each other since we were kids.
Pretty much,
And
yeah.
which is funny because we're closer in age than I am with them, but I'm more closer than them than we ever
Are we
uh
closer in age?
yeah, I was born in 95.
Oh shit. I don't know why I always thought you were older. I guess because you got
Cause I
along more with them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like everybody thinks I'm their age, but like I just turned 29, you know?
Oh
Like
shit, dude.
these
Damn,
fools
you
have been
nearing
in their 30s.
30.
Yeah, these fools have been in their 30s for a minute already. So
Yup.
but with that being said, let's begin with the plática. And the first topic we're going to talk about is family. My question to you is, what is your definition of family?
Um, I think my definition would just be like a set group of people who support you. Just because there are certain friends that have become family, so I feel like there is your chosen family and your blood family, so that's why I just call it a group of people that like support you because that's what it really is.
Do you have any friends right now that you consider your family?
Oh, absolutely. One of my longest standing friends, shout out to my friend Erica. I've known her since like I was like a sophomore in high school, so we go way back. She's been through many stages of my life. She's seen me in my crazies, my wilds, and my highs and lows. So that's why I consider her family.
Is there any family members that you feel like, yeah, we might be blood related, but I don't know you?
Mm,
Like
I
here, because
feel
it's kind of hard to like consider like this part of the conversation, and it wouldn't be fair to our family in Mexico just because the
Oh no,
distance.
yeah, I get it.
I'm talking about
I
like
feel
family here.
family here, jeez, I don't know.
Not on
Not
some like
really.
drama shit, like just some,
Trying to stir the pot.
yeah.
No, not in particular. I feel like just because there are so few of my actual blood family related members here, it would be hard for me to like exclude them because, like you said, there's very few of us, so like we're a tight knit group. So I don't think anyone in particular I would exclude.
What was it like growing up as the younger sister of these
Man,
two of these two
oh
like
it's
giants?
um I think everyone like it was funny growing up because like they'd jokingly be like, "Oh my God, we're gonna scare all your boyfriends away, this and that," just because they are like bigger people in size and they do look, you know them. They had
Yeah.
their era with their bald heads. I mean, Edgar still has his bald head, so it's not just an era for him. So there was that. I've talked to them many times about it. Like, hey man, like y'all fucked this shit up for me. Like my parents were a lot strict with me because of you hoes. So I think growing up, when I was an angsty teenager, I definitely resented that part of them because I was like, "You fucked this shit up. Like, what the hell did I do?" And family members are, especially in Mexican households. I'm the youngest. I'm the only girl. Like, they're already gonna be like, a lot more harder on me.
You're gonna
Or
be on your
like,
case.
so they were already on my case, and then these little shits, I love them. Um, you know, they had their crazy era, so of course it made it a lot more difficult for me. So, I mean, growing up was crazy because I used to resent them, but then now it's like a lot of events brought us like a lot closer, which is weird because it's like I never thought I'd get to a point where I'd talk to them about certain things that I do now. I don't know. It's an odd experience growing up with your siblings.
Yeah, they had a big influence on my teenage years, I will say. It was a lot of just to put it bluntly, a lot of negative influence, but it wasn't their fault. It was just the times, it was the environment, it was the lifestyle, right? So it's not because they were negative people per se. It was just the way it is and the way it was. But I am not a sibling of yours, so you got to see it 24/7. So it
Oh,
might have been
yeah.
different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was a lot in the sense of like I don't know, because like you said, we grew up together, so it went from a point of like seeing you guys wrestle in like the little jumpy houses to all of a sudden like your bald heads and like all your baggy clothes and shit. So for me, it felt like from one jump to another, like at least in that aspect. Because I don't know, I don't know how to explain it. Because we went from being kids to them just being rowdy little shits from like one moment to the next. That's how I felt it. And then they stayed in their little rowdy phase for a long time. I feel
Yeah.
even now.
I could say I could confidently say that it's calmed down a lot. But yes, I was there for a lot. And I wasn't there for all of them because I was gone for 4 years, but um there were a lot of times where it got real rowdy. But it's not
Yep.
about them, this is about you. How did it feel like to be so different from them? Did you ever feel like misunderstood or did you
Oh,
ever feel like
100%.
invisible?
100%. Just from the perspective of like they were always on some shit, so my parents were constantly preoccupied with that. And I was like, what the fuck? What do I gotta do to get like some kind of like recognition out here? Like, do I have to do that or do I have to do the opposite? So I always felt conflicted. And like I said, like now that I've had these conversations with them, like I come to see it differently versus when you're growing up, I was like, I heavily resented them and they're aware of it now. But like I said, we're at a different point of our lives where they aren't like that as much, or like we don't compete per se for our like parents' attention. I don't know how to explain it.
You went to college and obviously their life turned out a lot different. Um, was it difficult for you to do all this and not have them like understand that part of you? Because I felt like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's weird.
No.
It's only some certain things that like if you're an academic and your sibling isn't, there's a
Mhm.
disconnect
Yeah.
beyond like the social and the family and the environment. There's a
Yo, oh
different
no,
level of
for sure.
disconnect.
It's like I don't know if it happened to you, but like my family would jokingly, like even them would be like, "Oh, like now that you're at school, like, well, you think you're better than." Like sometimes they would say it jokingly, but like
Yeah.
I don't know, like at what point was it a joke and like when it wasn't. And like you said, there was I already had a disconnect with them because there's such a big age gap. Like my other brother, they're like with I don't know 5 6 years difference between them, like between me and them. So there was that disconnect. I'm obviously a girl, so I'm not to, like we obviously have very different um interests. Look at that time specifically. But then on top of that, like now we're adding another layer to it where I'm like, you go to a new institution, you learn things, you unlearn things that you thought were like fine, like when you were growing up, and then like it just creates a bigger distance. That's how I felt it. Like I already had like this big distance between us, and like now it's like even bigger. So I felt very much out of place. So much so that I wouldn't really like going home because I didn't want to hear it. Like I didn't go far, like either. Like you went really far, so like it's not like you could like jump back and forth. I was in Irvine, so like what, an hour out max? It's not that hard for me to come back home. I would just be like, oh, well, I have work. Oh, I have something coming up. Like, honestly, I would come up with excuses like 90% of the time just because I don't want to deal with that, you know?
Besides the disconnect, was there at any point where you felt like proud or amazed of something that they did, even if when they were on their rowdy shit?
Just, I don't know. They were just so ballsy with shit. Like, they were so
Yeah,
unafraid
yeah.
that I was like, shit, like, I wish I could experience that. Like, I really, like, wanted to throw myself into things. Like, I grew up very anxious. So not to say that I'm like not completely anxious anymore. Like I experience it a little bit here and there, not as much as before. But growing up, I was a lot more anxious. So just seeing them throw themselves, do everything, walk out of the house, go out, come back out, whatever ungodly hour they wanted to come back to, and I was like, damn, like if only I had an ounce of that, I don't know where that would have taken me. Like in that specific time frame. Because now I don't give a shit. Like I don't give a fuck. Like I do my shit out here. Um, but during that time, I was just so genuinely like not maybe envious a little bit almost of that ballsiness, that boldness to just run and do whatever they wanted to do. Like it's gonna sound like odd. I remember one time Drone went to the beach and he came back with a fucking starfish. I would have never wanted to pick a shit up like that. And this motherfucker was like, let me take this shit home. You know? Even
Yeah.
in those little things. I was like, fuck, dude, like, I don't want to touch that shit. I didn't want kelp touching me, like, less a fucking starfish. But yeah, there's that. I always admired that side of them. I don't tell them often because I was like, ew, emotions. You know how it is with us. Like,
Yeah.
we just keep it to ourselves. We observe from afar. We don't really say much. But like we just feel a lot. I don't know.
Maybe it was that confidence to just and having no fears is probably what I could probably say about them because they're big influences in my life as well.
Yeah.
Um, I always tell them like, look, this is this is because of y'all. Like a lot of this is because of y'all. I mean, I started rapping because of Drone.
I remember, dude, I
Remember,
remember
remember
when you
that? Like
guys
I started
did.
rapping because of Drone at that house. Like it's just crazy. Like you know what
You
I'm
guys
saying?
would sit by the fucking desktop and I'd be like, those ways, what are they up to now? I feel like you guys went through a phase where you guys did like multiple things, tried multiple things, like outlets for different things. I remember you guys would fucking burn them shit into those little white CDs. I remember that, you
Yeah,
know?
I remember that
And
shit.
it's like, I'm over here like, damn, like I'm scared to fucking leave the house at a certain hour. You guys were over here fucking making diss tracks and shit. Like, fuck.
Smoking weed and drinking in the front, like on some
Yeah,
stupid shit at
I,
3, 4 in the
and
morning.
yeah, and like the evidence of it, would be there the next morning because you guys didn't give a shit. Like that's how much that confidence, went. Like that's the extent of it. It's wild.
What is like the biggest piece of advice um that Drone gave you that benefited you in terms of being out in the streets? Like a street smart piece of advice.
Oh, damn. I don't. I'm trying to think because I don't think like
Or maybe not like a piece of
no.
advice that he directly gave you, but it might have been something that he went through where you were just like, okay, I learned from him.
Um. Oh, a lot of what they did growing up, I was just like, oh, I'm not going through that.
Okay.
So like there, it wasn't much like of them giving advice. More kind of like I'd sit back and I'd see, I was like, ooh, they're getting reprimanded for that. Like, maybe I shouldn't. Or like when we were younger, because our parents didn't hit us much growing up, but like when they did stupid shit, like, there was that one or two couple times where they did get hit, and I'd be like, okay, so we never get hit, but he got hit for that. I'm never doing that. Even now as an adult, whenever we talk about certain things, it's not so much advice, but he just straight up says, like, who cares? Like, who cares? And I think that very much got cemented in my head now because I don't care anymore. Like before I used to be like, oh, but like what are people gonna say? What are they gonna do? Blah, blah. Like I was just so preoccupied with that. And now I'm like, well, who cares? Like, I don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah. What about Chunky? What is there a piece of advice that he gave you, or is there something like you said that you saw him go
Oh
through and you're like, I don't want
my
to be like that?
God. This fucker.
Because he's a whole different person. Like they don't know that side of him. Like we think Drone was reckless. Like Chucky was on a different level of reckless.
I mean, he still is this way. He's like, he annoys me a lot. He still does. We still fight like little fucking kids sometimes. But I feel like that annoyingness in one way or another taught me to be a lot more patient. Like I'm not saying like I'm the most patient person, but when
Yeah,
you got a little shit poking at you 24/7 over the smallest shit, like you learn to be patient to some extent. Especially if you're gonna work with kids. Goddamn, like some of these kids would be like, fuck, you remind me of my brother, like Shit.
Yeah, I'm saying like I remember Chunky though. He was a different case. He was a different. Drone was a lot more chill. He was rowdy in his own way, but
He's a
Chunky
quiet rowdy. Adrian,
was
uh,
loud. He was loud. Like
he's
he was a
loud.
loud rowdy.
Mm-hmm.
Made a lot of noise.
Still is. He still is. But
Man,
I've
that's
learned patience from him.
funny way to
Patience.
look at it now, like at a different stage of our lives to look back.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, from well, to explain it in terms of like my life and my brother, it's so easy because my brother was so calm. He was the
Oh
calmest
my.
one. He was the shy rowdy. He did his own little rowdiness here and there, but there's nothing to say about my brother because he was quiet. He was super reserved. He would still hang out with us, but he would never he never made noise. So it's
He
funny to talk.
watches us make noise. Well, he
Yeah,
wouldn't make. He'd
he wouldn't make
encourage us to
noise.
make noise,
Yeah, he would be
but he
observing.
will.
He'd be observing. He'd be there. Um, but yeah, like we grew up. It was the four of us. And Drone and my brother Shyster, they're in the same age. Chunky's a year younger than them, and then
Yeah.
I'm like 3.5 years younger than Drone. So it was a weird dynamic. But the reason why I wanted to have this Platica is because I don't think we ever sat down like this, us, and
No.
had a conversation like this.
Mm-mm.
It should have happened when we were younger, maybe because we are a lot more alike. Like
Yeah.
now, to see in a different perspective of life, we're a lot more um alike and we think alike. I'm pretty sure we do than I am with them. And you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? At that point, when I was a little younger, I was trying to be like them. I wasn't really trying to be myself. Um, but that's a whole different story. You know what I'm saying? But it's part of the reason why I want to have Platica is because um well, at least a part of the Platica was to get insight onto how they are. Because to me, they're still such a big inspiration in my life. But like I said, I'm not your siblings. You know what I'm saying? We want to know
That
what happens behind doors. We want to know what happens behind doors a
it
little bit.
it's odd to hear that from a sibling perspective because I'm just like, not to shit on them, but I'm like, really? There's three
Yeah,
siblings,
yeah.
you know?
No, it's
So I'm like,
weird.
I'm gonna flip it on you real quick. Like, what about them? Like, out of genuine curiosity, what about them?
Um, I think it turned just for the strength that Mexicans we're a lot community based, right?
Yeah.
And so we're first generation, and
Mm,
my family and your family, we're not like direct cousins, which is kind of the funniest thing about it. It's like a rancho thing. Like, my family is
yeah.
related to your family somehow, some way. We don't want to get into it. But when they started migrating over here, um, we lived in the same area, or our parents lived in the same area.
Yeah.
My
I
dad
know
got cool with
before.
your dad.
Yeah.
My mom is cousins with your mom and stuff like that. But we were just connected off of the fact that we lived in similar areas. Um, and so when we were growing up, y'all were always here at the parties, or we were always over there at the parties. And when you're a little kid, and my brother was already cool with them, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted to follow my brother. So I was kind of like, I had no choice but to kick it with your
Mhm.
brothers.
Yeah.
And as time went on, you know what I'm saying? When you're a little younger, when they're in middle school, I'm in elementary school still. They start listening to certain kind of music. They start watching certain things. Introducing, they started introducing me to a certain life that I saw growing up in South Central. And it was like weird to be, quote unquote, a gifted kid, but feel alone, right? Because all my other friends were kind of like my brother, were kind of like your older brothers. And so it was out of survival that I started
Mhm.
looking up to them because it made it easier to be from South Central and be a certain way. Because I wasn't like that. I had to become that. And it's kind of stupid and fucked up to say that I kind of almost had to build this character to try to be like almost like a replica of your older brother. At my own at my own pace and my own, my own spin to it. But I wanted to be like them. I wanted to be like my older brother because all the stuff that they would talk about, I thought it was cool because I would see it everywhere. They would talk about, oh, the girl's this, or I did this and I did that, and I was in the streets and boom, boom, boom. And it turned into the whole being ballsy shit. When I was in high school, I would be out and about. I would still do my work, obviously, but I was like, shit, let me go kick it with Drone real quick after fucking school or some shit. Or I would kick it with the
Yeah.
homies, and then in the weekends, right? Instead of being home, we'll go sleep over and we would do our desmadre. And obviously that's how the rapping stuff came to be. So it was like they were almost a representation of the world that I wanted to be a part of because I
Mm,
wasn't a part of it. I never connected with that. Like the tattoos, the slang, the image, that's because of them. I got that from them. And obviously I got certain parts from my brother as well, but a lot of like the street and the rowdy shit that comes from them. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I was always there. And that's why I always talk about, oh, my cousins Chunky, my cousins Drone, my brother Shyster, is because I just wanted to be like them. It's like one of those things where if I was surrounded by a bunch of academics, then maybe I could have lived up to my full potential when I was younger. But
mhm.
I wasn't. So fuck it, out of survival, I have these three influences in my life. Let me be like them. Boom.
But
That's
I
for
feel
me.
even then, like, um, we have, like, let's say the whole gifted program was like they have them at schools, but they aren't giving it like the whole, the full aspect of it. It's kind of like a let's pull you aside for like a couple months and then, oh well, where do we go from here? Because that's how, like, it also just goes back to the area you live in being severely underfunded. Like, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to challenge you because it gets to a point where, like, everything they provide for you isn't challenging anymore. You're just sitting there like, let's fill this, let's fill this space with someone else, and then let them get to that little threshold. And then eventually they're gonna drop that kid and pull another kid just because, like, there's not much to offer. If we were, I don't know, in like a different district, things would have been a lot different. But it just goes back to the idea of like shit, like there's not much for us unless we look for it. Like we have to look for it. Whereas other people, like it's given to them like very easily. I'm not gonna say I struggled because like we weren't poor growing up, but we weren't wealthy, materialistically. But we had enough. We had food, we had a roof over our head, and that was like the most important part,
The
you
needs.
know, the needs. But when you're a kid that strives for more, you're always gonna be hungry for that. Like, where else can I go? Like, what can I do? Like, is there a place for me to like, get more challenges? Like, you're always constantly looking for it, but you don't know where to turn to because it's not as easily accessible.
There it is. That's literally right there is like the professional way to put it. Right? The
Yeah.
professional. I could talk like that. Obviously, don't think I can't say it. I just don't like saying it because it's just one of those things where like it's a certain kind of lingo that only certain academics or certain people could understand. Right?
Yeah, I've
But it's true. It's all true. You did not say a single lie in that whole
But it,
piece
it
right there.
also brings into question the whole idea of like, I didn't know that this was a thing, like code switching.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I didn't know I was well versed in this shit until someone explained it to me, and I was like, oh shit, like that's what that is. Like, I thought it was just making myself fill a space, making myself a certain way to fill in certain criteria to, I don't know what they
Survival.
expected of you. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, code switching is something that I have learned since I was a kid to fit in with your brothers and my brother because they weren't given the same opportunities as we were.
Yeah. It's what's the word, like, because normally when people think of code switching, you think of like, oh, us growing up in poverty, switching to his language of like the more upscale, the more academics, versus you're seeing it in like the other way of like you've left your nest, to put it that way, and then come back and it's like you've learned a new language, but the other people around you don't speak that language, so you have to constantly switch between that, you know?
It's almost like you have to translate English to slang, and it's hard. It's hard. It's difficult
Hmm.
because sometimes there's no terms, or there's you have to get one simple term and explain it in like a whole essay to somebody.
Yeah.
Like if you say code switching to somebody that has no idea about
Like,
switching tongue, like the tongue or the dialect or whatever, in terms of like the English language, you're gonna have to explain it to them using examples, your own experience. You have to use
yeah. Or even
um
trying to explain it to our family members. Like, I don't think they
yeah.
see it as like, they see it more as a, ay, es que estás siendo una persona que no eres. And it's like, well, technically they're not wrong, but the implication for them is like you're being fake versus like code switching is much more of a survival, a way of like trying to figure shit out in like a new space.
I just think it's punishing to the kid that grows up in the hood that has to that learns professional quote unquote school English, right? And in order to fit in and have everybody else understand them, they have to learn how to speak like a fool and say, "What's up, dog? What's up, fool?" Like just have a certain language so everybody else around them could understand them. I think it's punishing, but how do you solve that? I don't know. Like, you know what I'm saying? You feel
Yeah.
me? It's like what you said. There's a lack of resources, there's a lack of funding, and that's just the way things are. And unfortunately, um, I'm a product of that system. You're a product of that system, but we managed to do it. Um, but I guess that the simplest way is just survival is the reason why I looked up to your brothers and my brother. It was just a survival thing. It was a survival instinct, which is a human. It's human. It's a human
Yeah.
thing to do.
For you, looking up to them was survival, but for me, survival was being the opposite of that. Because I was like, not to say like that they're bad people, because they're not, it's just a lot of the choices that they made were just not choices I wanted to make. And
Yeah.
then seeing where it led them, I was like, oh, like if I'm gonna like make it out of here, I can't be doing that. I can't be caught doing that. Like I can't slip up. Which is I don't know, like the difference between our experiences with the same people is almost how would I phrase that?
The polarity. It's just it's a
Yeah,
polarity thing,
yeah.
the influence versus the I don't want to be like them.
I mean, when you really think about it, they're influences, but just in very different ways.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
But we love them. Hey, we don't want to
we
make this
love
episode. We don't make this episode as Platicas. We're just shitting on my cousin. It's just the way it is. I talk about it. It's a big part of my my speeches. Is a big part of my conversations and the way I explain to the youth, right? Because I work with the youth as well as to why I am a certain way and why I act a
them.
certain way. Um, but I never see it as like a curse. I always see it as a blessing because it allowed me uh, to survive in multiple worlds.
Yeah,
I attribute a lot of that um, to your older brothers and my brother, and it was probably it's the same. We saw the same thing. We just processed it. We processed it a lot different, a lot different.
yeah.
That's funny, but enough for them. Enough for them. We love them, but enough for them. But to stay on the topic of family, it's going to be a lot more personal to you. At this stage of your life, do you want any children?
Right now, fuck no, nope. I feel like at some point I might, maybe, but because I'm a woman and my biological clock is ticking, it almost feels like a pressure, but I'm not falling into that. Because I'm at a point in my life where like I'm not financially stable. I want to, be a little, more stable in that sense. There's still a lot of things that I want to do. I want to travel. I want to, do all that shit first, but you can't do that with kids. So right now, no, thank you. I grew up with my nieces and nephews early on, and I was like, So it's scared. It's not. I'm not ready for that. If I were to have kids and I can't have them on my own, I'd probably just like adopt a couple kids. I don't know. But right now, no.
Hey, honest answer. That's a real honest answer. How do you define success in a relationship?
Mm, shit.
Because
I've
I've
had
asked this question to three. I don't know if I asked your brother this one. I forgot. But I know the
oh
past two episodes I've asked my guests this question, but they're guys. So I want to get a perspective of a woman. How do you define
mm,
success in a relationship?
I mean, for me at least, a successful relationship, you need to have how do I phrase it? I feel like for me at least, I would not like to be in a relationship where our personal lives are heavily intertwined, like heavily our social groups and all that. Like I prefer for me to have my friends, for them to have their friends, occasionally mingle here and there. But I would want someone who has their own aspirations. You know, I feel a successful relationship is one where you can each do your own things, pursue your own hobbies, but then be able to return to that person for support or like even just I don't know. It's it's a weird question for me because I haven't been in a lot of serious relationships, given the fucking times that we live in where like a lot of people run away from that. People are scared to be in genuine relationships. So they're very scared of building that foundation. And I think for things to be stable with a person, you need to build that foundation of like, okay, what do you want to do in life? Where like a lot of people don't discuss the future. And I don't know, I'm just very upfront with that shit with people because I know where I want to go. And if they're not on the same page, it's like there's no point in interacting with this person. Like we're clearly headed in two separate directions. Like let's not, even do that. I don't know if I've explained myself. I feel like I'm just going in circles.
No, you want to have your world, and then you want your partner to have their own world instead of you being in their world or him being in your world. So
Yeah,
it's like one of
like
those
I
things.
think,
Everybody wants to have
yeah,
alone time, and I get it. I know what you're trying to say.
yeah, or even like I've thought about it. I'm like, okay, if I were to live with a partner, I'd want to have my own room and I'd, you know, want them to have their own room with the occasional like, hey, I'm gonna like sleep with you in your room or like you come to my room. But I feel
Oh,
that
damn, like
also,
that, like a sleepy, like a bedroom.
yeah, not like occasionally, I'm not saying like every day because I think space between partners is nice sometimes just because I don't want to become codependent on someone else. Like I still want to earn my money. I want them to earn their money. Like, and then we do what we gotta do with it, you know? I would jokingly growing up, I'd be like, ah, yo quiero ser una mantenida, But I can't. I grew up earning my own money. I grew up working for my shit and like I could not go and take that shit from me. Cause it's like, I don't know. It goes back to a certain anxious part of me of like, well, what if I do end up doing that and then it doesn't, work out? Like, where am I left? Like, there's gonna be a huge gap in like my work experience and like, how do I explain that? So I'd rather work, continue to work. I don't know. I just only girl in the family part of me too. Like, I've worked for my shit. Like, I'm gonna continue to work for my shit.
Hey, shit. Hey, if that's your answer, I can't. You know what I'm saying? I'm not here to debate. I'm just here to learn. I'm here to learn.
Yeah.
That's an interesting perspective. I feel like it's been almost like on par with the answers that the guys gave me. You know, they're about it's about space. It's about everybody doing their own thing. And that you said it, that codependency is that key word in that whole sentence. Codependency. You don't want to depend on anybody
Nope.
because like I say, you want to be your own world. You want them to be in their own world. But the moment you start going into their world, like to depend on them, that's where it gets tricky, and that's a whole different
Yeah.
conversation. But yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. You know what I'm saying?
But also, I don't know. I grew up with two older siblings, two dudes, so like I don't know if that might have influenced that. I don't know if like growing up, my dad would always be like, "Oh, es que like tú tienes que sacar tu carrera, like you have to get your degree. Like I don't want you like, to depend on anyone." Like that was also very much ingrained in me. So I don't know if there's that aspect also, coming into play.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool though.
Yeah.
Codependency, that's something that's like that's a whole different conversation. We start touching on therapy and shit like that when we start talking about codependency and childhood, and we could get lost in that whole codependency,
Oh,
but
100%.
we want to move on because you said something about your career, right? You keep talking about your career. And this is a question that I like to ask all my guests. What is your dream job?
Mm, I feel there's still a part of me that needs to figure that out because I haven't fully like sat down and thought it through. I thought when I was 18 years old, applying to school, I had it all figured out. But because I went to school and I graduated with like my bachelor's in education. So at that time, I wanted to be a teacher. I don't know if I still do, or maybe might shift and work with like children with like disabilities or something. I don't know. I'm still figuring out. Like I've, try to stay, I want to stay in that field of like working with kids per se, but I'm not necessarily sure like what route to take. So at the end of the day, like career wise, like as long as I'm doing something that earns a living and I'm content with it, I'm fine wherever I end up.
Where did the passion to work with the youth start from? Was it when you were young? Did it start in high school? Or was it one of those things where you were in college and you were just like, this is interesting?
I think, because aside from like you, I don't think I had a lot of cousins that were like within my age range. A lot of them were either like very, very older, like a lot older than me, or were a lot younger than me. So I would more likely get along with the ones that were younger than me. So I'd spend a lot more time with them and like, oh, like I'd be helping them do things here, I'd be helping them do things there. Or they reprogrammed in school where like, oh, the older kids would help with the younger kids. So like maybe that's what might have led me into that route. It just seemed very easy to choose it. But then there was another part of me who would have liked to pursue a more creative thing. I wanted to go to art school. I wanted to do all of that, but like it didn't seem practical in my head. Like the likelihood of me earning a decent living, a wage where like I'd feel comfortable, I was like, there's absolutely no way in hell that I'm gonna make it out there because it's such a competitive thing. Like a lot of people, don't end up in all those, that money generating thing. So I was scared to take that jump, which goes back to the idea of me being envious of that ballsiness that like my siblings had growing up.
Yeah.
And I was just like, shit, like what would have happened if I would have just not been afraid, you know?
Does your
But
mind drift towards like that artistic, creative industry?
occasionally, like I think about it still, but I'm like, well, what would I do with that? You know? Like it's still in my head isn't like a feasible option. Like I've tried routes of it, but it was fulfilling for a bit, but then it wasn't. And then like I tried another thing and it was fulfilling for a bit and then it wasn't. And I was like, well, is it really something I want or is it just something I could just have on the side that I can occasionally go back to?
The reason why I asked is because I've had a conversation with your brother Chunky about it. I have a whole like how do you explain it? I don't want to call it curriculum. I don't even know how to define this yet, but it's a part of this curriculum that I created about helping people find what they were destined to do.
Mm,
And sometimes it runs in the family, right? I call it the superpower or the power. And I was talking to your brother about it for multiple times. It was like a developing thought. And I asked him, and he said he wanted to do gun manufacturing. And then I asked him, I was like, bro, when you were a kid, did you like to put things together? Because now he likes to put figures together, right? He's like a mechanical, his mind works in that kind of way. And I was like, boom, for your power is to, I don't even know how an assembly. You like to assemble things, and that's an artistic thing. Now you look at his son. He likes to draw. And you look at your older brother. He did graffiti for a while. You know what I'm saying? So it's like one of those things where it might run in the family, but um, it might not as well. You know what I'm saying? That's why I wanted to have this talk
It's
because I
funny
was
that you
also
bring it
curious.
up.
I was curious. Y'all was curious. Like, damn, I wonder what Jesse's mind is like. Because I know what Drone and Chunky what
Yeah.
they were like more Chunky because I've had more talks with him. But eventually I do want to be able to explore Drone's mind or whatever. Um,
We've
but I
had
was
this conversation between us
okay.
three too. We're like, oh shit, like we're all creative in some aspect. And then we thought back to like our parents and like I don't know if you remember when we'd have our parties and shit, like the centerpieces, like my mom
Yeah,
would straight up go into a store, they'd sell it like ready for them. She'd just kind of look at it, be like, I can make this. We'd go a bunch of different craft stores, she'd pick shit up and like she'd make the same thing that they'd be selling at a fraction of a price, you know? So I feel like it's very much a family thing. It might have been in one way, shape, or form passed down to each of us in a different way. Like we're all creatives in a different way, but still connected through that same little thread.
because in my family's music, right? I have so
Yeah,
many cousins that do music, they do musicals, instruments. Um, a lot of them you met them, but you were a lot younger. Because
I
I
probably don't
remember
remember them.
I was young too, and when I hear about them, it's like, oh, this and that, and a lot of her family, like even from the rancho, like it's all music related, and so it was like for a while, I was like, damn, no wonder I learned how to rap, but that turned out to be a whole different thing. I don't really want to make it about that because it might run in the family. It might be something that runs in the family, right? Um, so I'm not saying you should explore that creative, that artistic side. And before we continue on your career, I know you like to make jewelry, right?
I do. I'm looking at like half my little things like right above me.
And that in itself is an artistic expression, an artistic way. Do you make any money off of that?
I used to like there was a point during like COVID where like I got laid off of the work that I had. Um I don't think I earned enough where like that relief program would help me. So I was like, you know what, like let me do something because like I know like even before that, like I was making a little bit of side money. It wasn't enough to like um for me to buy certain things like while I was at school. Like I'd have my job and then I'd have that on the side. So it was enough to like, oh, let me buy like my groceries and shit. Like I was like, oh, if I can make a some kind of extra money off of it, then like why not? So again, the idea of survival came into play. Like I took this creative form. I was like, if I could make a little extra on the side, like why not? But then COVID happened and I was like, well, we're all stuck at home. Like, why not explore it further? Because, you know, when you're in school, like you can't put 100% just yet because there's still a lot of other things for you to do. I also didn't have a lot of time because like I had a job, I had an internship, and then like I have my fucking classes, and I there was not enough for me to fully explore it. So when COVID happened and I had a little extra money on the side, I was like, let me invest in this and like see if there's something I could do. So for a bit, I think what was it? That COVID lasted like well, at least I was here for like about a year. But even before I had started a year before that, so I had a year already under their belts, had a bit of clientele, and then COVID happened, and I was able to spread it a little more because I was able to make a lot more things and explore a lot of like, oh, let me try this out, let me try like this other thing. So it generated a lot more income than I had anticipated, especially mm, from like October to December of like 2020. I made the most. I think I had that's when I had started my Etsy shop because before that I was just selling like straight off of Instagram, which is difficult to start like that because a lot of people are like afraid of like, oh well, what if I don't get my shit, you know? Which I don't blame them because I would probably be like a little scared to give my money to someone and be like, well, what if this doesn't show up? Because I was only taking payments from Venmo, and you know, Venmo isn't as protected as PayPal, so a lot of people were skeptical. But once I set up that Etsy account, like it generated a lot more. I think that first month, September. I started at the end of September. I still made like what, $500 off of those last 2 weeks, which isn't a lot, but for someone who was just pushing it further, in 2 weeks is a lot, you know? When you put into perspective. And then October rolled around. I think I made 700. November, I hit 800. And I think December was where I sold the most. I made like 1,200 off of that.
Mm.
And that's after their fees, because they hit you with their fees. They charge you like for
Yeah.
every little thing. So for me to still come out with like $1,200, I was like, shit, like maybe this is something I want to do. But as I was hitting that peak, I was packing my shit to leave my house because like I left the country and I was like, shit, like I'm really like hitting peak right now as I'm packing my shit away into like 2 suitcases and moving halfway across the world. So I was like very conflicted for the longest time. And I was like, well,
Oh.
where would that go? Like if I pushed it, you know? Yeah, life happens, but I try to take it up again. Um, I don't know, I didn't feel as content as that first bump because like now it's like starting over and it's hard to pick something up again after not doing it for like 2.5 years.
What inspired you to start making it in the
Um,
first place? Because you said it was a year before COVID, right? So 2019.
yeah. So in 2019, like I had already like done jewelry before. I I think it was in like middle school. Like I would do all those like little handheld little bracelets. You know how there was that phase where people would wear their bracelets up to their fucking elbows and shit.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
I was one of
yeah.
them.
Yeah.
I was one of them. Little freak. I was now that I think about it, I was like, why would I do that? Like I'd come back and there'd be like all pressed into my skin and shit, but that's besides the point.
You're a child.
Um
You're a child. They don't mind.
I
You
was
get
a
a pass.
child.
You get a pass.
But I there was a program in school that like they gave us stuff like to do that. So I stayed after school once a week and I'd make stuff. My mom picked up that it was an interest and I don't know how she found this lady. Like I don't know if it was at a bus stop or a store. And she's like, yeah, like I teach people how to do that stuff. My mom was like, hey, like you want to give this a try? Like you like it? I don't know what. And it was very helpful because like it went from just making things with like that little plastic string to like fully learning how to use different tools that I didn't know existed so that I was taught a lot more like different techniques and like the lady would show it to me like, oh well like you're gonna need this and that and like she'd give me everything I needed and then they would charge like my parents based off of that like oh like she chose this thing so it's gonna be this much. So I don't think I would have known or been able to do any of that if my mom hadn't found that random lady.
Fuck, was this? You were in middle school when this happened?
I was in middle school. I was like an
See,
eighth grader.
how am I gonna know? You know what I'm saying? I was too focused trying to be like your brother. So that's
Yeah,
crazy. That's dope.
I was
I didn't
in
know that. See,
eighth
I didn't
grade.
know that shit.
Yeah, I was in eighth grade and like I went for like a couple months and then yeah, I went for a couple months. It was between eighth grade and like my first year of high school. So I went for a couple months, did that, and then once high school started, I didn't really do it as much. Cause I don't know. I guess I thought I was too cool for that shit. I don't know. Or I don't know if the lady stopped teaching. I don't know. It might have been a combination of both, but like I stopped doing that with her. I stopped um doing it all together for a couple of years. And then I took it up again my first year of uh
College?
university.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did it. I still had a bunch of supplies. I was like, let me try to make some gifts for my friend. Like I'm broke as shit. Like I can't be spending shit. Like let me use what I already have and like make them something. They liked it enough, so it was fine. 2019 rolled around. I was just doing it for me, making myself earrings because I like wearing earrings, little funky earrings, especially. And my friend was like, "Why don't you try like, I don't know, make money off this shit?" And I was like, "Do you think someone would pay for that?" She's like, "Yes." Like I buy it, and I'm like, "Are you for real?" And she's like, "Yeah." Full fledged, brought all my tools already. We went to downtown, like the jewelry district where they sell that shit. She took me. I bought a bunch of shit. She actually helped me with that. Like she's like my friend, we're two broke college bitches, still was like, here's like $100, like get more shit, like we're gonna make this a thing. She helped me take pictures, like she was like my model for like whatever, like earrings or like necklaces I'd make. Like she fully
Oh, so it was
wanted
serious.
like she was serious and she's like, you should do this. Like I said, it was like very slow at first and then eventually picked up its pace. So I think it's a combination of like being supported early on and then like being encouraged by my not blood family. So it was like I said, like family is just a group of people to support you, and that's why I just call it that. That's how it all started.
Do you feel like and this is not something you could answer right now because it's on the fly, but I could only explain it in terms of my own experience. So doing the podcast stuff, being a rapper, performing, doing all kinds of talking has been repeating itself throughout my life.
Hmm.
That's why I'm able to say that my power is communication. This is something for you to think about on your free time because I had the same talk with your brother, like I said. There might be a time, even before your middle school days, where you might have been introduced to making jewelry or creating some craft that you were in elementary school, maybe. Think about like 8 years old, might have shown up and you it's kind of hard to remember because obviously, it's so far long ago. But
Yeah.
something might have presented itself when you were young because if it repeats itself, middle school, high school, college, even after college, like it's been showing up since you were a kid, right? I used to translate for my parents as I was a kid. I've done presentations my whole life. I did a radio station in college. I've done live streams on YouTube. I have the podcast. I've had like 4 podcasts. I've done speeches. I took a public speaking class. Like my list of communication related stuff is like 2 pages long, right? And so I don't want to say it's a homework, but since you're my cousin, I want the best for you. Take some time to explore the art because it sounds like you're a lot more interested in that than the actual education stuff. Not saying that the education stuff isn't interesting, but you could just tell when somebody's light bulb lights up when they're talking about
Hmm.
something because that's what they were destined to do.
I think about it a lot, or even
That's why I asked, does your mind drift towards that all the time?
I feel like it either drifts to that or writing.
Ooh. Hey,
Um,
see, there it is. It might be that. It might be that. I might be
because
wrong too.
like now that you're putting it in that way, like even writing has presented itself in like several parts of different eras of my life. Like I know
Did you have a
maybe
blog or am I tripping?
no, I did,
I don't know how I
but
know this, but I think I overheard you saying
we
it,
get yeah. Um,
putting you on
so
blast and shit.
I mean, I used to
Oh,
so the
damn.
way that started, I studied abroad and like, cause like I never saw myself like as a writer, like academically. Like I never got, I'm not gonna say I got terrible grades either. Like I just never got the highest grades. So I never thought of myself as like a good writer. But when I studied abroad, there was this like journalism club or whatever, and I was like, you know what, like back home in my home institution, like I'm working to the bone. Like I can never join clubs. I can't do extracurriculars. Like let me get my full extent here. And I was like, I'm gonna do it. Like the worst that could happen is like they say no, because these people were serious about that. Like they were like the school newspaper, and like you had to go through an interview process. There was this writing test, and like there was just a bunch of things that would have deterred me, and then be like, nah, I'm lazy. Like I'm not gonna do that. But like I was like, you know what? Let me try this out. Like, I want to, like, this seems interesting enough. Like, I want to do it. I did it, and like, I felt very comfortable with it. I felt like I liked it, and it was outside of academic work. And I was like, okay, like, let me explore this a bit, which is where the blog started. Um, And initially it was just like I had it as an open diary of like, let me talk my shit out here. But like not talk my shit. Well, sometimes I would. But nicely. Or I would just like write about things that I was genuinely feeling, or if there were certain things that I was like going through, it just seemed a lot easier for me to write it out. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person in the world who's experiencing this. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person in the world who's like ever felt this way. So I'm like, why not just allow people, to pick apart my brain a little bit, to pick apart my experiences? Like, I don't know, it might help someone a little bit delusional of me in that sense when I first started. But it was good enough to where people were receiving it well and were like, oh, I could never put this into words like this, or like, oh, I felt like this before. And like the more people made that clear, the more I pursued it. But then I don't know why I stopped. Oh, I stopped because I I was like I took it from I took it from it being an interest to adding it as like a second major for my degree. So I was a lot more busier taking those classes, and like the more I took those classes, the more intrigued I was. Or there was this one professor in particular where it was writing the Latin experience, and like he was like he grew up in like he also grew up in South Central. He knew our experiences, and a lot of the prompts that he would put like would make me really think about things. And like I said, I never saw myself as a good writer, even though people were like reading my blog. Like I still never didn't see it that way until like I was working on this assignment, and like I never go to office hours. I don't know what inclined me to go. I went and I talked to him about it. He's like, "Oh, well, like you write very well." And like you like I don't know, I don't remember what it was that I was like, "Shit, like let me take this up another notch." So I pursued it a lot more freely and took it outside of my experiences for a little bit. I monetized it for a little bit on another website, and then I just wanted to do it, but I just didn't know what I would write on because like I didn't want to seem like a narcissist of like, hey, let me write about a book about me and like what I've gone through. Like, though my blogs were received well, I was like, would someone even want to read that? So I would kind of like hesitate almost. But then life happened, shit with my dad happened, and like I took it up as another outlet where like I wrote about those experiences. And like again, they were received well, and I was like, well, what if I were to make this like about that? Like, like because I feel like on a superficial level, no one really knew him. But the more people you talk to and the more people you like asked questions, there was it almost felt like a puzzle to me, like they knew this part, I know this part, so the person knows this part. And I was like, what if I put this puzzle together? But I never pushed myself to, which again goes back to the idea of like where were those like resources, or where could I have gone for like that additional help? Like I didn't know where to do, like I didn't know who to, I guess turn to for like how do I make this a thing? So I feel like there were a lot of points in my life that push in that direction as well. So like I constantly feel at odds of like, let me go in the practical route, let me go into the more logical route versus let me, go into that creative side and see what happens. I'm still scared to make that jump. I still haven't, got into that ballsiness of them again, because I'm just so terrified of like ending up in a place and like not knowing what to do if it doesn't go anywhere. Yeah.
I mean, it seems like, look, it seems like because we're going through the same thing, but in your case, it seems like you have the art, you have the working with the youth, and you have the writing. Those three things, those are foundational towards who you are, right? Not who you can be,
Yeah.
because you already are. You already experienced it. You already know what's up. Maybe it could be a combination of all three. Maybe there's one that you resonate with the most, that's something for you to decide. Um, the best piece of advice that I could give you that allowed me to answer these same questions that I had, because I also had the same fears, and you might be saying like, well, what the fuck, like, like, because I used to talk a big game, and this is me being vulnerable. I used to talk a big game, but I never walked the walk because I had fears. I used to be feared, and I explored the fears, and they start when we're kids, and I understand why I had those fears, and I had the same thoughts like, who the fuck wants to listen to me talk? Who the fuck wants to listen to my story? Who cares? And I had the same questions that you were asking yourself, the same doubts. I had the same doubts. I still do, but it pushes. It's literally what motivates me. It's like, nah, like you said, there's somebody out there that might relate to your story, and you're helping them out. Now, I don't do what I do for other people, but I understand that what I do helps people, you know, and that's like a big part of my motivation to keep me going, and it's what helped me conquer those fears. Because yes, I don't want to feel like a narcissist. Because yeah, the more you talk about yourself, the more you're just like fuck,
Yeah.
like what's wrong with me? You know what I'm saying? Am I a fucking narcissist? I was literally on my phone looking up, am I a narcissist? I was doing a narcissistic test because I felt like I was just talking about myself. I'm talking about myself right now, and there's always that little part of me who's like, "Fool, shut up, dog! Like nobody cares." But it's those fears, and I know those fears. Those fears they suck, and it sucks even more when you feel alone because it's hard when nobody understands that like that fear, because there's a difference between a fear of spiders and a fear of taking the next step in life. And the whole thing with the blog and the whole fear stuff, like that, I think about like, fuck, if we were cool like that, like who knows? Like maybe I could have been a help to you because I've done the blog. I like writing too. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, we are so similar that it's so funny to see it from a different, from my perspective, because I work with the youth, you work with the youth. You do the little art stuff, I rap and I draw and I take pictures, the creative. And the whole writing stuff, mine is talking, yours is writing. You know what I'm saying? And it's like crazy to see that, damn, we're so fucking alike and we're so close to each other and we're so um our connections has been there since we were kids. And damn, what the fuck are we doing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What the fuck are we doing? Right? And it goes back, yeah, it sucks that it doesn't suck because I had so much fun spending all the time with your brothers. But looking at it now from learning about all this, and it makes me wonder, like, damn, how much more we could have achieved if we were cool, like, like that as
Yeah.
kids. You feel me? And if you want that piece of advice, like I said, explore those fears because those fears will take you to the next level. Now, honestly, I always like to say the disclaimer: it comes from you, right? It's all gonna be on you. You know, it's all on you. You got me. I know how to do stuff related to taking stuff to the next level, right? So you got a big resource, right? Like if we don't have those resources, we're making those resources. We are the foundation to those
We
resources that we've
become
been
the
talking about.
resources.
Yeah, exactly. We're becoming those resources. You feel me? You said that you feel lost. You don't seem lost. You just need to figure it out a little
Figure it
bit.
out.
You got to figure it out a little bit. You're not lost. Lost is like if we would have had this discussion and you would have been like, well, I'm doing this, but I don't fucking know. You know what I'm saying? Lost would have been like, well, I did all this, but I'm not using my degree. Like, you got a good, solid foundation. Just build on it. You'll be straight. You'll be good. Because it seems like because we could have talked about the whole youth stuff and we could have talked about the education. You say you majored in that, right?
Yeah.
But what do you like to talk about? You like to talk about the writing stuff and the artistic stuff, right?
For the most part, yeah.
Like when you have your conversations with your friends, like is it about your job or is it about your artistic side?
When it is about my job, we're mostly complaining about it, but it always comes back to, oh, what would have happened if we would have explored other things?
The what if conversations.
Yeah,
Uh, Yeah, that's those suck. And those suck. Everybody has them. I have them all the time
yeah.
for myself. I have them all the time. What if we just literally have one right now? What if is there a possibility for you to teach writing or jewelry at this at your what are you I don't even know what you're doing. What are you doing with the youth?
Um, I work at a school after, like at a school after school program. So we do, um, it's half and half. So we do like half of it is academically based, and the other half is like
Electives?
creatively, like elective based. Like we each have like every month we come up with like, oh, what are we gonna do for the month? What are we gonna work on with them? I've thought about it, but it's kind of hard. Just because mm, the like again, like the area where we grew up in doesn't like we have a little bit, of those resources, but not as much as we'd like to have. So I think there's that like financial strain in getting certain supplies versus just I feel like it's very difficult to connect with certain kids in the sense of they don't want to. And I feel there's only so much outreach you can do if the other party doesn't want to. So like it comes easy with certain kids because they're willing to have these conversations, they're willing to engage, versus the other half, you know, they're there more out of necessity of like, oh well, parents can't pick the kids up or like because they're at work, so they're not there out of like their own free will, so they're more than likely not going to want to do certain things. And then there's the other part of like kids who grow up in hardships that don't want to talk about certain things, aren't going to want to write it out, aren't are going to be, hesitant to do these things. So it's like I could potentially, but it just wouldn't go well. Like like at least a third of them would receive it well versus the other two-thirds would be like, well shit, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, the after school program because that's what I'm in. And the after school program, it's a difficult um I don't even want to industry or part of the education field that's hard to maneuver because you said you have the students that want to be there, and that is is cool. I like working with those because those are the ones that go to the clubs, they go to the events, and they participate, and those are the ones that are willing to take a little bit of a risk, and those are the ones that are curious about the future or they're curious about exploring their passions. Then there's the ones that are there out of necessity. They have to because their parents can't pick them up or they can't take the bus because their parents are afraid that something's going to happen or whatever. And then there's the other group of students, like you said, that come from hardships and they're just there because they feel love. They feel unconditional love from adults. I like to work with those youth, obviously.
But they're also tough nuts to
Yeah,
crack.
those are the toughest ones because no matter what you're interested in, it's hard to connect that bridge through that interest because sometimes they're not gonna want that. They don't care about that interest. They don't even care to do anything. They just want to feel unconditional love. But then there's a part of us who want to do these like loves and they want to do these events. And then the unspoken part has to do with the numbers and the attendance and the program stuff, the budgeting. Yeah, I get that. I hate that part of the world, but I understand it. Like I get it. But yeah, I that's why I asked, like, is there a possibility for you to explore? I had, which is funny because I had a club during the pandemic, which is where I got the name for this podcast called Platicas. The name of the club was called Platicas. And we would just hop on a Zoom call like this and just shoot the shit with the students. and I got connected with the kids. It was at first it was like prompt based, and we would like talk about certain things, and I would have a presentation for them. Then I seen that it wasn't really working, and then I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna just shoot the shit with the kids, with the youth, and it worked out. It fucking worked out. I had the same doubts. I was like, nah, it's not gonna work. Look at it now. I have a whole podcast named after that club. Now, yeah, I'm dealing with adults now, but it's the foundation of that club that I'm taking everywhere I go. Like, I left that job and I'm at a different position, a better, not gonna say a better position. It is a better pay and it's a more, I have more freedom to do it. But that's that same club and that same way of running the after school program that I'm taking it because that I'm taking it over there because it involves a lot of writing, a lot of journal prompts. I'm just saying it worked for me. If you're interested in doing, I mean, you might not be interested in doing it. I'm over here trying to fucking push this shit on you and shit, but it might be worth exploring. I had the same doubts. Trust me, I had the same doubts as well. I was like, nah, it's not gonna work. These fools ain't gonna want to open up. Not all of them open up, obviously, but you'd be surprised. The youth, they will surprise you. They'll be surprised. Now, don't go into it with any expectations. Obviously, don't expect anything, right? But it might be a cool way. Or the jewelry, the jewelry shit. Might teach them how to do jewelry. Now you about to have a bunch of
Pretty late.
little disciples running around with your jewelry ideas. You feel me?
Yeah.
Just something to think about. That's my 2 cents when it comes to it. I know there was a time where I was looking for a job. I was like, I hit up your brother. I was like, hey, your sister, because I know he told me that you're working after school program. I was like, hey, ask your sister if they got any openings. I was like, fuck, I was trying to look for anything.
Yeah.
Literally like a week later, I got this opportunity, and so I didn't even know that you were working with the after school youth program until your brother told me.
Mm.
And I was curious, like you know what I'm saying? I've always been curious about how your life turned out because it was always like one of those things where it was like, damn, I always in back of my head, I was always like, when I heard that you were gonna go to college, I was like, damn, I need to build a relationship with Jess because I know my experience could help her out. And I never did. Then you left to South Korea, which we're gonna, end the conversation with the South Korea trip. But I was like, I went to Ohio. It was in a different country, but it was still far as fuck away from home. And I was like, I need to fucking talk to her. And boom, I didn't do it. So now it's like, nah, I have to do it now. So part of this conversation is fulfilling for me. But see how it works out, like now we're building a connection and a bridge and yeah, we're doing it through a podcast and we're doing it recording and it's gonna be on YouTube, but it's so fulfilling for me to be like, damn, I finally find somebody that could understand me. Yeah, you're a girl, whatever, but I don't give a fuck about
Yeah.
that shit. I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? But don't
Yeah.
ever don't ever hesitate. You got my number now. Don't ever hesitate to ask me for I got a bunch of ideas. I got a bunch of fucking ideas. I was the rebel. I'm always a rebel everywhere I go. I ask for forgiveness at my jobs. My ideas always work. And that's not me being cocky, it's me being for real. You know what I'm saying?
I might give it a go.
But don't don't lose yourself in the education field because you feel like you need to make money or you feel like you got to be practical. It happens. Trust me. I've done that too. Trust me, I've done that too. I try to do the whole marketing stuff and it was because I was like, "Oh, I'm going to get a lot of money. I'm going to do this and that. I'm have a lot of things open and opportunities opened up, but it wasn't fulfilling at all." I wanted to talk about rap music. I wanted to do the podcast. I wanted to fucking just kick back, relax, and talk to people on camera. That's it. That's all I wanted to do. And now that I'm doing it, I'm doing this shit for free. I don't give a fuck about the money. I don't give a fuck about anything else. And I'm bringing that to the after school program because I also want to be fulfilled in my career. So
Yeah.
I'm able to bring my interest and get paid for it now. You know what I'm saying? So that might be something worth exploring on your career to tie your other areas and your other passions. And there's gonna come a time and point. I know it. because I know everybody goes to this. When they figure it out, you're gonna become unstoppable. I know it. It's gonna
I'm waiting
happen.
for that moment. I'm waiting for that moment.
That moment's gonna happen. That moment's gonna happen. Trust. It's gonna happen. Where it's just like it's gonna click, boom, and everything in your life starts making sense. Everything in your life starts making sense. Trust. Like when I discovered the whole, oh, I'm a communicator, I'm a messenger, and all that shit. It made fucking sense. Everything just hit me all at once. Boom. It was one memory after the other. And it's always like that. I'll be talking to myself or walking at night in my backyard and I get a random memory. Oh, I remember when I did a speech and fucking whoop de. I remember when I first clicked on iTunes when we were kids where we were trying to bootleg a CD and there was the podcast.
LimeWire.
Yeah, line we are doing the LimeWire shit when I saw the podcast the icon on iTunes and I clicked on it and I was always interested in that word podcast would always trigger a reaction in me, like a weird like a calling in my soul that I never understood until I started doing the podcast. It all starts making sense. I'm a big believer in destiny. I'm a big believer in destiny. I believe that we are destined to do something big, whether the contribution is small or big in itself, but our the things that we do are big because they're important to us. We all have a destiny, but we're also destined to do we all have a skill that we're destined to do. And it seems like you're on the right track. It seems like you're on the right track. You just want to define it, huh? You want to define it. It makes it easy. It makes it easy. Talk to your brother. Talk to your brother, Chucky. He'll tell you about those conversations that we had. We've had them. We through text or in person, smoking a cigar, where it was like, damn, fool, like, who are you? Like, and I was like, my question was like, who am I? You feel me? And if you feel lost, like that's that one question right there. When you say, who am I? Everything starts making sense. But let's talk about South Korea because I'm interested in that shit. What the fuck? Why the fuck did you go to South Korea?
Why not? I mean, I graduated during the pandemic. I had a semester online of school. I was like, I don't want to do grad school online. I cannot do that. That on top of other life events that I was like, nah, bro, I stay here. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen out here. Like, I need to leave. Like, I need to pack my shit, get out of here for a little bit. At first it definitely felt like a very selfish choice because I was leaving everyone and I was like, figure that shit out. Like, I gotta figure this shit out, but out of
Yeah.
here. But I was like, you know what? Like sometimes you gotta make those tough choices, man. I had already studied abroad there 2 years before that in 2018. I was only there for like a semester, so it wasn't that long, but it was like long enough where I was like, hey, this is pretty cool. Found out that there was a program that takes you over there as an English teacher, and I was like, I just got my bachelor's, like, let me, put myself in an education like aspect and see if this is really something I want to do. Turns out that obviously led me into like another route. Like I don't want to be a teacher, especially here because I think it's a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
On top of the, not getting paid well, but also kids out here,
It's tough. It's tough. That's a
it's
whole
tough.
different conversation. That's a
Yeah, but I was there for 2.5-ish years. Um, I worked at a school. It wasn't bad. Like I did not like I had an 8-hour work day, but I didn't spend 8 hours with the kids. Like I spent at most on my fullest day, like 4 hours. The other 4 hours I was just like dicking around. Like I'd use it as my planning time, but it doesn't take me 4 hours to come up with like a plan for the next day. So I'd be sitting there at my desk for like 3.5 hours, like, the fuck do I do? Like, what the fuck do I do? So it was nice enough that I'd have that time because I got to explore a lot of other things. Like I was reading a lot more, like I was writing a lot more. I was doing a bit of like jewelry, but like I wasn't selling it. Like my school gave me um a certain amount of money that I could use like to buy things for the kids. And like they'd seen me out there like with my like jewelry and shit, and like they'd like this. So I was like, oh, like let me use some of this and make shit for them. So at least two times of at two times during the semester we'd have like market day where like I'd bring that shit, they'd bring their own little things, trade among each other, or like I'd give them like money that they earned throughout the school year that they would use, and like it was nice. Like the kids were pretty like they were funny because like especially the younger ones, like the youngest group that I worked with were third graders, which is when they just start learning English. So a lot of the times I just be like, damn, like how am I gonna communicate with these kids? Because in that school, like usually you have a co-teacher who's there to help you translate things, but there wasn't a designated co-teacher for the third graders, so it's just me and a group of like 25 kids, like figuring shit out. Like, how do I explain a certain grammar point? But I was like, they're third graders. They don't need to learn grammar. They just need to learn, repetition right now. And the older they get, like, they're gonna figure the grammar part. They're gonna be able to understand it a lot better. But it was a cool 2 years. Flew by very quickly. Not gonna say that the 2 years I've spent all career driven. No, I did my little shenanigans. I'm an adult. I have a weekend. I'm gonna go out.
Yeah, yeah, rowdy, rowdy like that.
Oh yeah. That's where I got my ballsiness because me go out here, scary. It's scary. Sometimes you see shit on the news, but I was not worried about any of that over there, you know? Obviously, you still have to be, precautious, not obviously not take shit from people, like not go through the sketchy alleys or. But it wasn't as scary. Like I wasn't scared to say no to someone. But it was nice. Make friends with bartenders and you're never gonna have to pay for drinks.
Would you teach? You said English?
I was there as an English teacher, so literally like English, like the language. The country itself is like very big on teaching them a secondary language, a foreign language. So they bring native teachers from what is it, the five or six English speaking countries. So it wasn't just US, it's US, Canada, Australia, South Africa,
England?
the UK, Ireland, and what's the last one? I think it's six. So I can't remember right now. But you meet a lot of different people. Um, they're the weirdest part, not weirdest, the hardest part I would say is like there aren't when I went, there were not a lot of people who look like me. My friend and I would jokingly be like, you're never gonna have a hard time finding me in a group of people because I'm like the little brown girl walking around. You know, a lot of the people that show up there are, either like
Not
white people,
Mexican?
not Mexican, white people to put it very bluntly.
All right.
Like that's
Yeah.
who a majority of them are. So, you grow up in a predominantly Hispanic household, a Hispanic community. You learn that you're a minority when like, I learned I was a minority like when I went to college. Like I knew it statistically, but I never saw it because everyone around me looked like me. But when I go over there, I was like, there's still people that look like me, but not as many. You move to a completely different country, and I was like, well, shit, like where are all the brown people at? Where are all the other Mexicans? So in that aspect, it was like hard because I was dealing with a lot of like emotional shit on top of like the occasional homesickness. I can't find food over here. Like when I wanted to buy hot Cheetos, I'd pay 11, $12 for the little bags because they'd have to be imported.
That sounds painful.
It it was it was a luxury that I would allow myself every now and then. Um, because like they could send shit from over here back home, but it's expensive and not to throw certain people under the bus, but they wouldn't send me anything, so I'd be like, I need to get my fix.
Hey, clip it and send it to him.
Oh,
Clip it
oh,
and
they
send it,
know. They know.
send it to your
But
brothers. twelve
it
dollars?
was
Oh,
hard in that way, like,
that's crazy.
because the everyone speaks English, so I was like not worried about that. But I was like, what if I want to talk Spanish, bro? Like, where do I find my people? Funny enough, I found my people at a bar,
Hey, sometimes that works like that, right?
and like it was a bar that played primarily Spanish music, and I was like, all
The
right, like,
fuck? In South Korea?
dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, why was I out here at like 2 a.m. on a Saturday, like hearing a random ass Cristiano Ronaldo song out here? I'm like, oh damn. Like this bar was exclusively to cater to like not Mexicans, but like
Brown
I don't know,
people?
brown people.
Yeah,
Like
Spanish speaking
they're
fools and
they were
shit.
very interested in that. So much so that the people, the bartenders that worked there had their Spanish names. Like they're all Korean people, but like, why is this Korean man going by Enrique? Why is that other
It's
guy named Miguel?
it's an appreciation of cultures. It's like the big fascination in Japan with like Chicano culture, with like the
Oh
lowriders and the
yeah, it
cholo
was very much
outfits and
that.
stuff like that, you know?
Yeah. And
Not a
like
diss, it's an appreciation and you feel like you feel welcomed, right?
I was confused at first. I was like, hold up, your name's what?
Yeah.
Homie started speaking Spanish. I was like, hold up, you telling me my Spanish interaction out here in South Korea is with a Korean man who speaks Spanish?
Oh, yeah, it would be confusing. I could understand. I could
Like,
see why it would
especially
be
when you've had
confusing.
a couple drinks, I'd be like, oh whoa, like what's going
That shit
on?
would throw me off too. I'm not even gonna lie to you. If I heard some fool in a different country speak Spanish, I would be like, what the fuck? That's crazy.
Yep.
Were you prepared financially when you left?
Um,
Because how
yeah.
expensive is it? Like the difference? Is it more
Um,
expensive? Is it cheaper?
it's about the same. It's just it's expensive in the sense of when you go grocery shopping for one person. Because they sell things in like, bulk, like they do here. Like I can't pick up and like, let me buy a pound of tomatoes, but like you only get one and like they charge you for like they sell things in bulk. So it's expensive because I'd have to buy all of that when I didn't need all of that.
The Costco method?
Almost. Like not to that extent, but like a little bit. Like I only needed one tomato, but they only like sell them in 6 packs. Or I
Oh
need an
no.
onion, but they only sell them in like 4 packs. So like I'd have to take all of it and like I could not finish it for the life of me.
Oh, it's not like when you go to Superior and you throw one onion in the bag and
Yeah,
that's it.
you can't do that. So I was like, fuck, like now I gotta cook the rest of the week. Damn, I only wanted to. Or like I'd make food in like big batches because there are certain times where I'd be like, I don't want to make anything. So like I'd leave it in bulk and like eat that. But it wasn't as expensive. The move over there was expensive considering plane tickets. There was a lot of documents I needed to ship over there. There was a lot of legal stuff that I had to do that cost a lot of money. Um, the only reason it was able to happen was because eventually I did get that pandemic pay retroactively. Like they finally accepted it. So all of that shit like had like just come all in one go. So I was going crazy that first bit. I was like, oh, I gotta buy new clothes because what am I gonna wear over there? Like I'm not gonna wear like my t-shirts to work and I gotta buy that professional shit. I gotta buy my plane tickets, I gotta buy my suitcases. So I think it just that I probably spent like maybe 4 or 5 grand just with all of that. On
That's
top
not
of
that
that,
bad.
which isn't bad, I guess, for uprooting your life, but
That's what I'm saying. You know, it ain't that
um
bad.
like I was prepared for it, but like let's say someone's trying to just do this on the willy-nilly, like, you know? But on top of that, like you get paid on a monthly basis. So I wasn't gonna see any money for that first month.
Oh
So on top
shit.
of that, I had to have enough money to survive that month. And I think I spent because I furnished my shit too, because they give you a very basic apartment. No, that's also part of it. You don't pay for your housing. The government pays for it.
So they got universal income out there or what?
Universal healthcare as well.
Oh shit.
They're like you don't have to worry about your housing. You don't have to worry about like any of medical expenses. Like I went to the hospital to get checked for I don't know. I think they have you do a full body thing, and I think that shit was like $15. Never in my
Damn.
wildest dreams.
Like, just
Or
going
I'd
to the
get
clinic,
sick.
just going to the clinic, they charge like $50.
Yeah, like
But here,
copays and shit. Or like I'd need certain medication after I get sick and like I'd pay like $1 or something for like 4 or 5 things. I was like, shit. Or when I got COVID, 'cause I got COVID over there, I was out of work for like a week and they still paid me for that.
they charge a lot of taxes, I'm guessing.
The what?
They charge you a lot of taxes?
No.
No?
Mm-mm. I filled out, they have you fill out a form because the US and Korea has a what's it called? Like some kind of treaty where like I paid $85 and I didn't have to pay taxes here or over there, but it's only for 2 years. And like even then, like I wouldn't have made enough to pay taxes per se.
That's crazy. That's just
Yeah.
universal healthcare, universal income, South Korea. It only costs you a 5Gs. How long was the Oh, before we get into the paperwork stuff, I don't really want to touch base on the paperwork stuff, but what was the hardest part about moving away from home?
I moved during a very critical time. So I think that was difficult. Like we had a lot of family members die like one after another, and I was
I remember this.
like it was my dad in June of 2020, and then who was it? One of my uncles in like February, like literally a week before I had to fly out. And then 2 weeks after that, another uncle. And then just a lot of shit like back to back. And I was like, fuck. But I was like, you know what? Like, this is all set in stone. Like, I have to do this. Like, I can't stay here. Like, if I hear about another tragic shit, like, I can't. No. So I had to uproot myself. So I was dealing with the aftermath of that, plus occasional homesickness. And I was just trying to navigate life really, because like that was like yeah, I was away from home like during like college and stuff, but like that was like I felt like the first time where like I really had to figure it out on my own. Because like I don't know, like I couldn't like who could I turn to? Like I didn't know anyone. Like I had to figure it out.
Gonna be
And
codependent?
exactly,
Yeah.
which is also
That's probably
like
where it
yeah,
was. That's where it is rooted in. You know what I'm saying?
like I'm not gonna say that I didn't have friends over there, but I feel like a lot of it is just friends of convenience because like everyone's out there on their own and like, you know, so it's like you have to like, you know, make friends. And like I honestly stayed with like my group of friends, like the group of friends I made in the initial, like those are the like friends I stayed with for 2 years. But literally as soon as I moved back, or like even a couple months leading to me coming back, I kind of cut contact with them. Like I kind of like separated myself from them for, other reasons too, but that's when like when that started to happen, I was like, shit, this really was a friendship of convenience, you know? Because like even now, like I've been home for like almost a year and like I haven't heard from them. Like I still have them like on my socials, but like
Oh, so
they're not like, hey,
when you left LA, you went alone. No friends, like none of your high school friends
I
went with
went
you.
with no, yeah, I went with that one friend, which we literally got placed like 15 minutes like walking distance from each other, which worked out. But like, I wanted to make friends outside of her because I was like, you know what, like her partners from over there, like they're gonna go and do things on their own sometimes. Like I gotta have like my own group, which is why I made my friends and all of that. But it's crazy. A lot of it was very much convenience based. I'm not saying that all of them were like that because there's like a certain group of people that I still talk to, but that group I feel was a friendship of convenience.
It was for survival. We get it.
Yeah,
I feel like it's only certain things that people that move out from their comfort zone experience and they go through and they meet those convenience friends. Because I had convenience
uh,
friends in Ohio. Um, a lot of them were convenience friends. A lot of friends just because I was there. But yeah, it was like you do have those friends that you still keep in contact and they become your friends and what is it, friends for life type shit? Remember that
yeah.
fucking cringe ass shit people used to throw around? Friends for life. What was it? Friends for FFL or something like that? Some
Best friend for life.
some shit like that. But going back to the whole paperwork stuff, What the fuck do you need? You need your passport? You need your
You
birth certificate?
not even that. Like you need to have
A lot of forms?
your diploma has to be apostilled. You have to do an FBI background check. That has to be apostilled. Um, then when they do hire you, because you have to do an interview thing, like submit your thing online, like any other, job. Then they call you back for like an interview. They set up that. If you're accepted, they send you your contract, which you have to fill out, and they send you this like notice of appointment, which would let you go to the Korean embassy here, wherever they have it, for you to get your visa, for you to enter there legally. And then you have to send that paperwork back, the contract. That shit costs like at least 120 just to send papers, bro. And I
Damn.
was like, that, what else was it?
Plus all your like
Mm-hmm.
work stuff, right? Like all the employment documents.
I had to have two letters of recommendation that were like signed ink, like they wanted the ink on it. They didn't want like the scan shit.
Shit.
I was like, oh, like I'm leaving during Rona. You think these people are gonna want to see me?
Mm.
Luckily, like the ones who did that for me were like very helpful and understanding.
What about like oh, and then your medical records, I'm guessing?
Oh yeah, during one of the things when you fill out, it asks you like, do you have a history of mental illness? And I was like, let me check no real quick because they don't need to know. They don't need to know. They also ask you like if you have any tattoos and where.
Oh, what the fuck?
Image is a big thing. Like if you do have tattoos, because my friend has some, she's like, yeah, you have to attach pictures. Like they want to know where you have them because you can't have any like visible tattoos.
So like people like me wouldn't be able to live over there?
I don't know, like because things have gotten a little less intense per se, but I don't know, man. They're very judgy.
Hey,
Like,
to each hey, to each your own, right?
like they're
But damn,
very,
that's crazy.
very, they're very judgy. My friend who's over there says they call it lookism, like your appearance contributes to a lot of like, what your life is gonna look like or what opportunities you're gonna have, which
I
is
mean,
so weird to think about it.
I feel like it exists here, but it's just not. It doesn't have an ism attached to it, and we're
Or
not
it's
more.
not as widely said, like, yeah, if you ugly, we're not gonna hire you. Like, that's the extent that it goes.
Oh,
It's
what the
not,
fuck?
yeah. That's why a lot of people, even my visa, like when you take your pictures, they don't print them for you without them like photoshopping your shit. So I didn't know that they had photoshopped it until he printed it out. I was like, who the fuck is this bitch? Because that ain't me. Like, they're in their legal documents, they're allowed to have their shit photoshopped.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
That's crazy. What is the biggest piece of advice you would give somebody that wants to move to South Korea?
Learn some language a little bit, at least a basic. What your name is, where you're from, how long you've been here for, and what you do for a living. Because a lot of people are going to ask that. And it goes a long way because I lived in a very, very small city. Um,
What was the city?
Within a bigger city, like I still lived in like a bigger city, not Seoul, but like down south. It was still one of the bigger cities. But even then, like I lived in the outskirts, so a lot of the people were older. So I feel like my community was just old people and kids, because that's what I saw. So a lot of people that ran these shops were like older ladies, and like no one looks like me. So if I consistently show up to this place, they're gonna recognize me and like they're gonna ask questions. So I remember like when I first got there, I didn't know that they had specific trash bags. So I was like, how the fuck do you say trash bag? How the fuck do I say trash? Like I knew how to say trash, but I was like trash, like signaling to that, and that lady was at the supermarket was so helpful. A lot of the phrases I picked up were very much because of her. A lot of my survival phrases were because of her. Like she taught me a lot of like my basics.
Language.
Yeah, and they're gonna treat you a lot better too.
What about besides language? Just something like living, um,
As
anything else
someone
besides language?
who came from California, I got to see all four seasons. That shit got cold, bro. It's
Did it
cold as
snow?
hell. Yes.
Oh fuck snow. I hate snow.
Like it I remember one time it went like below zero. Like it
Yeah.
was like 13 below zero.
Yeah, I felt that before. That shit sucks. That shit
It
sucks.
like and I'd have to walk to work because I worked at two schools. The one was like my building was right here and I worked like literally right across. I just crossed the street and the school was there. But the other one was like a 15-minute walk. I'd be freezing. So I invested in one of those big padded jackets that touched the floor because that's how cold I'd get.
Oh
Or like
yeah,
those
me too.
little heat packs that are like that shake and I just put in my pockets.
Like, it's cold. People don't understand how cold it is. But that
Cold.
because -13 degrees is cold as fuck. I felt like -25 one time, I think, and it was fucking
Like you
cold.
don't
That
want
shit
to
was
do anything.
that shit sucked. That shit fucking sucked. Experience four seasons, language. Let's give them one more. One more piece of advice.
Mm, Another piece of advice.
Or just not even South Korea, just like somebody that wants to apply to one of these programs that send you to a foreign country to teach.
I mean, throw yourself out there because if you don't do it, they're gonna eat you alive. Like if you don't throw yourself into these experiences, you're not gonna know like what would have happened. Like I'm glad I threw myself out there. I'm glad I threw myself into situations that I would have probably never done that here. Like let's say over there, like people don't text you, they call you, and I'd be like terrified of like shit, like let me go, I gotta pick up the phone. Like you do a lot of things that you never thought you would, and like there's nothing wrong with that. People need to do that, and sometimes you move to a different country that forces you to do all these things that you would have never done.
Language, four seasons, and for those trying to join, what is it, a program or is it a school or what is it?
It's
It's called a
a
program, right?
government run program, yeah.
Government ran program. Take risks, put yourself out there. All right, those are three cool
Hmm.
pieces of advice. But we've come to the end of the podcast of the Platica. There is one final question that I like to ask my guests, and it's the one I like to end every conversation with, at least like the first one, because there's a lot of other people that I want to be recurring guests, um, you included. What is one question that you would ask the future Jess?
Future. I feel if I were to ask a question,
And the future is whatever. It could be next year. It could be
kind of
15
like,
years from
why'd you take that route? Like, why that route? Because, I'm at a place where, like, I don't know what route I want to take. So eventually I'm going to make a choice and I'm just going to wonder why that as opposed to the others. I think that'd be an interesting one to go look back on. Like, what it was. Did I have that, like, that moment where everything clicked? Or, like, was it, what it was?
Perfect. 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 Well, it was dope talking to you, Jess. It was a good reintroduction to our I want to call it family, friendship, or relationship, whatever it's considered. Um, you have my number now. We could keep in contact. It's gonna be on YouTube this upcoming Friday. Send it to all your homegirls. Send it to all your homies. Reflect on it. I did give you some kind of homework. I just on my That's on me. That's my fault. That's just the way it is when it comes to family. Um, but yeah, I really hope that you get that answer soon. It's not gonna happen quick. There's a lot of other things. I have a lot of other tips that I could give you on our free time. A lot of um, things that you could try out that I did that helped me find that answer and made everything make sense for me. If you want to have a discussion about that off camera, and yeah,
Definitely.
that's it. And thank you again for being a guest. Probably random. It was probably like a random thing. You were probably like, "What the fuck?" Like, who's? I know that's what people guess. Like, because it doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter if you have a brand or not, or if you want to put yourself out there. I just want to have platicas with people that I know about, that I find interesting. And in your case, it was somebody that I've been wanting to talk to for a long time on a deeper level, an intellectual level. There's still a lot of questions that I have, and you might have a lot of questions about my experience that we could talk about off camera as well.
Yeah.
But with that being said, is there anything you want to say to end the plática?
Put yourselves out there, find your ballsiness, and don't be scared. I'm trying to figure it out. We all have to at some point.
Boom. And for everybody listening, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell so you know when I drop another video, when I go live. I see y'all when I see y'all. Don't forget to love yourself today, all right? Adios. Stepping out the door with some fresh 90s, the old whites, the drips nice. Yeah, I'm icy, but I don't wear eyes. Still a fool that looks fly. Got my button down on.